Let me introduce myself. My name is Yisrael, and this is the School of Knowledge. This is our Thursday night class. We have a free Bible class that is offered to anyone who'd like to join us. And we say welcome to everyone who is here. People are still calling in. They will probably do that throughout the class. Some people come in after work, and they get off all different times. So, we just say bear with us as they come into the class. We've had this class for quite some time, for some years now, and it is definitely free. We don't charge anyone anything. And what we do usually on Thursday nights is we go through the Bible chapter by chapter, verse by verse. The reason why we do this is that we have found that a lot of people in Israel are precepting. And, the Bible says that, precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little. We know that. But we feel like that in order for you to understand the fullness of the story, you have to read the story. And the story is very powerful in reading it because it allows us to get to know the Most High and what we did to him, how he chose us, and what we did, and how we ended up in the position that we're in right now. So it's a very rich story. It's one of the greatest stories that has ever been told if you believe in the Bible. We understand now why the Bible was created. It is a history book for us, and we find our history there. And it's been sitting up on our shelves for hundreds of years, from generation to generation. The story has never changed, but we just didn't know that we were the people in the book. And now we know. So I would like for everybody to just take a moment. Anybody have any questions before we start the class today? Any questions at all whatsoever?
Well, I do. Well, was everyone able to get in to see the screen?
Well, I don't have the screen up yet. I'm not sure if we are going to pull it up depending on how. Well, I have the front page up, but, I guess I could open up this part. Let me open up the screen and do this so that you guys can kind of at least have access to the information on the front of the screen. So, Sister Sanaya, you were saying something yesterday about how the Bible class has helped you. And if you guys could kind of share that with the new people on how it is, what it has done and how it has shaped your life and how it has changed, and the reason why you feel that way, I think that'll get the juices flowing and allow people to just relax, because this is an open forum. You can ask any question that you want in pertaining to the Bible or the story or, how we come to the conclusions that we come to. And a lot of times we'll tell you we don't know, because some things nobody knows. I can make up some stuff and make it sound like Gabriel came and sat on the side of my bed and told me something at 2 o'clock in the morning, but that wouldn't be true. So some things we just won't know until the Most High comes and we can ask him. And that's when we tell everybody to get your list. Make a list, and when we get to the wilderness and we see the Most High Yah, that's when you ask those questions, because we don't have answers to all the questions. Okay, so the screen is now open. So you guys can let me know if you can see the screen.
Yes.
Okay, I opened up the screen, so if you guys can't see it, let us know as well. Now, I'm going to pause it at different times because I'm looking for some things across the board. All right, so Sister Naya, you can go first if you don't mind.
Oh, no, I don't mind. My name is Sanaya Yisrael. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I've been in the truth and knowledge for, I guess, maybe now about 5, 6 years, going on 6 years. And how I woke up was I was surfing around on, no, it's been longer, I think. Yeah, about maybe 7. I was on the Internet, and, of course, the people that are out there are the large caps, that you run into, and I listened around to them. And actually, the first video that I watched was one with a group called GOCC, where it said 12 tribes lost are now found, and it gave all this detailed information about that. So I started watching their videos, and then I started watching other groups, and I ran also into a lady from Toledo that I like very much that I listened to, and I got a lot of information from. But I never committed to, like, trying to contact any group. And one day I was online, and one of the recommended videos happened to have been one for Sister Yaina's, the Yehudah Project, and I listened in. And I don't know, it just struck my spirit right with the information that I was hearing. And she was the only group I decided to contact after listening for about maybe 2 years. So I contacted her, and she contacted me back right away, and we talked by phone, and I felt very comfortable. So what I was telling her was I was listening to all this information, but I wasn't getting, like, the foundational information that I needed. And I asked her, would she consider starting a class so that I could listen and invite others to listen in, that I was trying to wake up to, to obtain the knowledge that we needed, for the truth, around the truth. And we started a class. I think it's been about, like, has it been 3 or 4 years, Sister Yaina?
Close to it, yes.
Yeah, there was 7 of us that started out at one time, and we started from the beginning, the very foundation, the information that we needed to know. And we started from the beginning of the Bible. We started with Genesis. And every week we would go through book by book, chapter by chapter, verse by verse. We read the story, which actually gave you this firm foundation that you needed, because it connected all the dots for you. When I was coming up, and I grew up as a Christian, a Baptist, you would hear all these stories about some of these biblical characters, but you never, ever connected them. These were family. This was family. This was a chosen group of people that y'all dealt with. And, you would get pieces of information here, pieces of information there, but, you never was able to put the complete story together until we connected with Yaina, who gave us the complete story. And she always says it's a beautiful story, and it is. Because we went from the beginning, and we started with Adam and Eve and went down through all the lineage, throughout the Bible. And we've been in the Old Testament now for about 2.5 years. And we're just beginning to finish up the Old Testament, so I don't know what we're going to do after that. But I appreciate having been associated with Sister Yaina and having learned in a detailed manner the way that we have been taught in these classes. It's valuable information. I can't even imagine having gotten it anyplace else except where I am, and I'm glad my spirit led me to her. And as a result, I ended up being the director of education and learning of the School of Knowledge, and my assistant is Eliezer. She sends out most of the correspondence and does the responses to requests and that kind of thing.
Sorry about that.
And she is the director of the School of Knowledge. She'll be in if she's not in already. And there's family members that will be on here, too, that would be able to share their experience, which has been great.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I mean, that's really a compliment. I appreciate that.
That's real. That's real. It's for real, Sister Yaina.
I appreciate that. I really do. It means a lot. I mean, because I love the Word. I mean, my background is I was a pastor of a Christian ministry. Had a prison ministry and traveled all over the state of Ohio doing ministry in the prisons and different things like that. And, through a series of of different events that took place in the church, and I grew up in the church. I grew up in the Holiness Church, Apostolic, Pentecostal, holiness, by wherewith no man shall see the Lord. I grew up in all that. The tongue talking, the baptism in Jesus' name, the whole 9 yards. From a very small child, I guess I was introduced to it around the age of 10 or 11. I remember getting baptized at 12, and all the things. I remember all of those things, and I grew up in that, and I believed it. I firmly believed it. I preached it. I recruited people into it. I was 100% sold out. I was there. He had me hook, line, and sinker. I gave my time, I gave my talent, and I gave my treasure. I was in it, for the long haul. I had went through, a lifestyle that I had lived as a young single woman, and I've been a married woman. I've been married with children. I have been single, divorced with children. I've been what they call a backslider. I've done all of it. I remember I used to be in the club scared to go outside at a certain time in the morning because I thought the rapture had took place. I've been through all of that. I've shouted under some of the greatest bishops in the Pentecostal church. I have. Some names I may call you may not know, but in the the PCAF and the PAW, they was great names across the board. Bishop Noel Jones is one. I done shouted under Bishop Noel Jones. I didn't get a chance to see T.D. Jakes because when he came to Cincinnati, Ohio, they were charging for people to get in. And that's when I put everybody on blast. I said, we don't pay for the word. So I've done those things. And the Most High brought me out. And, I came out, and I came out of the church because I figured it was wrong. I did it was wrong. I'm going to ask everybody to please put your phone on mute because we're taking this session. So if you can put your phone on mute everybody. Because it's a lot of background noise from somewhere. I don't know who it is. But
probably is.
I have had the opportunity of a lot of different things that I came out of the church. And when I came out and I sat down and I asked y'all to tell me what was wrong. And as he did that, he began to show me. Hold on, I'm going to stop for a minute. Okay, I have muted everyone's phone, and I'm going to unmute you according and see where the noise is coming from. If there's no noise, I will leave your phone unmuted. If it is noise, I will mute your phone back again. I hate to have to do this, but because we're taping, this is going up on the internet, so I want to make sure that the people are able to hear it. There's a lot of background noise, and I know some people are driving home from work. Some people have the radio down. We can hear all of that noise, all of it. Okay, I got it. I figured out who it was. All right, so we just going to unmute your phone. Sister Shauna, we have your phone muted because the noise seems to be coming from there. Don't worry, nobody knows who you are, so just don't want anybody to get offended, in any way. But we're doing this so that, because other people have the same questions as you do. Other people do. They want to know, And, as I came home, he began to show me. He began to show me a lot of different things, and I was just dumbfounded. I walked around in a daze for many days. I mean, I actually sat back and
she unmuted us again.
Hold on, let me mute her again. Okay, I just muted her phone. All right, so I sat back in the daze for many days. My family was trying to figure out what was wrong with me. They was like, what is wrong with you? Why ain't you coming to church no more? We don't understand what's going on. And I kept saying, well, I'm learning some things. I said, let me figure out what this is, and as soon as I do, I will share with you. And as I began to share, the Most High began to show me things. He didn't really lay out the whole Israelite thing first. He laid out the other issues. He laid out other things, and I share those with you as we teach different things, because we teach a lot different than most camps. We do. We teach a lot of things that's a lot different from most camps. but I share with them what the Most High has given me. And to make a long story short, that's how we ended up like Sister. We started with a radio show. The Yehudah Project has been around for a long time. Brother Adoniai and I are the host. And, a lot of people started hearing the radio show. And then like Sister Sanaya said, we started the classes because we wanted people to be able to have an opportunity to come in out of the church as they transition out of the church and have a solid foundation where they can come in and learn, because some of the things that some of the camps are teaching, in my opinion, according to what the Word says, it doesn't gel. So I just wanted to have a place, where the people could come in and it's interactive and we could learn together. And that's the short version. So I don't want to go into a whole lot of where my lineage is and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to get into that tonight. I want this to be focused on the people and what this class is about. So does anybody else have anything that you want to discuss before we open up the floor to Sister Kimberly? Because what I want to do is help her tonight as she makes the transition. I invited her on the class tonight to give her an opportunity to ask any question that she wanted, and that we would help her with the answer. So everybody get paper and pencil out, pull your notebooks out, pull all your scripture references out so that we can help Sister Kimberly, because this is very important that we do that. Anybody else have something they want to add before we start? Sister Levia, do you have anything you want to say to the people about your experience, or Brother Adoniai, or Sister Eliezra?
Shalom, this is Adoniai.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to chime in here and give you a brief synopsis on how, and about me, and how the going through the scriptures has really made a difference. You understand, in my understanding of the scripture and who we are. I've been a Hebrew Israelite for 42 years. I read the book every week for 42 years. I go through the scriptures, verse by verse. You understand? And so when like Sister Yaina said, I was the co-host on the Blog Talk radio program, and we started having classes. You understand? It gave me an opportunity to go through the scriptures, you understand, and touch on some things that I overlooked in my 42 years, because after you read the scriptures, you understand, you're going to overlook some things. Some things is not going to be relative until there's a specific time period. You understand? As I went through the scriptures, I'll go looking for something, and I'll overlook a portion to find the thing that I'm looking for, but I have to go back to the scriptures and I'll find that what I overlooked, I needed also. The scriptures has has given me an opportunity also to learn some things that I never knew. You understand? And it shared and see, one thing that I'm finding out too is, because I say that I read the scriptures in 42 years, don't mean I know everything. You understand? And some people have seen some things that I overlooked in the scriptures, and they bring their view to it, and it opens my eyes even more. And I'm finding out that this is our book. This is our history book. This gives a story about how everything transpired. Right up to this day right here. You understand? We had to go through all of what is written in the scriptures, you understand, to get to this point right here. And then this is the latter days, as they call it in the scriptures. You understand? And so we got to understand, and you never get to this point if you don't start at the beginning. If you can't start at the New Testament, from my perspective, I never read the New Testament, but I'm sure that the New Testament has some value too, but it won't be understood till you start from the beginning and find out who you are and who your power is, who your God is. You understand? And in the Old Testament, it gives you the scriptures on what you need to do to get out this mess that we're in. You understand? So I am really, really overwhelmed and elated, you understand, by us going through the scriptures verse by verse, line by line, you understand, precept by precept, you understand, because it really explains a whole lot. I'm going to tell you that right now, you understand, because I know a lot of brothers and sisters are trying to say, why do they hate us? Why are we going through this? You understand? You know, understand? And this brings it all home. It lets you know everything that you need to know. You got to start from the beginning. And I'll relinquish the mic.
Could I ask, this is Sister Sinai again, Sister Eliasra and Sister Netanya to speak up, because they were two people that I had a very difficult time convincing that I hadn't lost my mind for a while, that I wasn't in a cult. You know, they thought I was acting strange and talking strangely. And I convinced them finally to just listen to one class. That's all you have to do. Just listen in, you know, see what you think, you know. That's all I ask you to do. And they did do that, and they've been here with us for several years.
I will admit that I thought that Sister Tanaya, this is Sister Netanya.
Shalom.
I think Sister Sanaya was strange for the longest time. Where are you getting this stuff from? Of course, I was one of the Christians, went to church. All of the information that I thought that I was receiving was the correct information, and I just could not believe anything that she was talking about. And I just said, well, okay, I'll listen, but I don't think so, you know. And when I listened to, the first time I listened to the group, and it's been a number of years now, you know what, I'm still in awe at this very time about what I've learned and what that book is about. That is about our history, and it's still hard for me to believe. And at this point, I've gotten so that I'm a little bit more stable about knowledge and a little bit more stable about where I am rooted. There was a time I did a lot of vacillation between back in the church and listening and participating with the nation of Yehudah, and almost torn. And I always had the feeling that when I was in church, I was always feeling guilty about everything that I did. If I went to church and if I didn't stay a whole time the services was going on, if I left, I felt guilty. If I didn't go, I felt guilty. It was always some kind of issue with me. And at this point, I would probably tell all of you that I am really solid. And being in this particular group and starting from the very beginning and listening to or hearing and reading the information has just like opened up a whole different world for me, and my understanding and knowledge, and it really comes to me, and I really feel so grateful to know that. And now when I try to talk to other people, I get this same reaction that I used with Sister Sanaya. You're in some kind of cult. You are, that's like do-do-do-do-do-do-do, strange. You're a strange person.
Okay.
Which we are a peculiar people. Anyway.
That's right.
But I get this reaction from other people that sometimes I have to shut up and realize, you're just going too far. But only thing that I can say at this point is that this has been a wonderful, wonderful, enlightening experience for me.
Hey.
And it almost makes me feel gleeful that, and first of all, I just really can't believe that my eyes are open to the point that it is to this day. And very grateful for this group. And one thing I can honestly say, if Yaina does not know, she will tell you up front, I do not know. So you don't have to listen to anything that's made up or that's not the truth, because she will tell you the truth, and that's it. So that's all I have to say.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. Did we lose Sister Yaina?
No, I'm listening. I was waiting on Sister Eliezer and whoever else before we get started. So I didn't know whether she was.
Eliezer. Is she here?
No, she might not be right now. She may be dealing with the kids.
She has to put the kids down to bed.
Yeah.
She'll be in.
Sister Lavia, do you have anything you want to share?
Of course. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Shalom, shalom, sister. I thank you so much for joining us and everybody else that's out there listening. Throughout my journey, I think I could state that you can feel a difference in between. I think that there's certain people that have certain characteristics of understanding at an early age and people that are in the process of still understanding. But for me, I think it was more or less being knowing that something was amiss a long time ago. And I think at the time, I want to say maybe at the age of 5 through 8, my mother and father, my father never went to church at all. He was like, that is not it. But I never understood why. But with my mother, we dabbled in, being Jehovah's Witnesses. And I remember, certain things that were brought to even at that age, my understanding that something is not exactly right. Me growing up, I'm like, why are we not on TV? And when we have the dolls that we play with, why are there no dolls that are like us? Why we have to play with their dolls? And there are certain things that stood out to me throughout the journey, and throughout. Like I said, my mother was in Jehovah's Witnesses, but like I said, it was something about that because I remember even at that age bringing asking one of the elders, well, who exactly are the 144,000? And he pointed to me to this little Jewish lady sitting over on the side in the wheelchair. That she parted the 144,000, and I kind of at that point remember snarling my nose up, going, I can't see that happening. So I think that, each one has their own journey on how they got to this where we are now. Part of mine has been knowing that the truth lies out there somewhere, and I needed to find out what it was. I knew that even at that time frame of following along with the Bible, that this was a God that was compassionate toward toward the people, and what I was reading was not being exhibited in my everyday life with the people that I was around, as well as people that I come into contact with. The world was a little bit more self-absorbed and harsh, and it was just on a whole different page. And I was kind of like, where's the love? And that's one of the things that's led me through life, and trying to find that love that when I read the Bible. And I didn't know, I knew that certain characteristics within myself led me to believe that something was different, but not knowing fully where to go to get those answers was a journey that I've spent throughout my life, and trying to find those answers and understanding who things like, why is there a church on every corner? If everybody has if everybody loves the same God, then why? I mean, it seems like we should all have an answer, but why are we still at the bottom? Why does everybody else have everything and we don't have everything, anything? And why does everybody always tell us that we would never come together? And those things throughout the process and being a child in the journey, it's left me being isolated of not wanting to participate in certain things because I didn't feel like it vibed with who I was. And I've always been that outsider, and it's allowed me to remain grounded in what I feel within my heart, regardless of what anybody else thought. So, me taking this journey to get to more in depth of who I was allowed me to just get to a point to where I threw in all the chips. I was just like, God, I know this, and I know that there's an answer out there, and I'm willing to put it all out there. It's either me find out, or my life is just not even worth living at that point. I was just torn because it was so much backlash that I've experienced throughout life, and wanted to hold on to what I felt. That love that I experienced when I read that Bible, that I'm not seeing out here in this world. And, throughout the process, I knew that I didn't want to go in the Christian church. It was something about that cross that would never allow me to go in through the doors. It was just like, it's something about this place that I don't feel comfortable with, and I don't have the Christian background in that aspect. I don't know as much as most people that have been in it their whole life. But what I do know that I have is the love for Yah, and that's what I've held on throughout all my life. And throughout the journey, I happened to run into some Hebrew Israelites that were associated with the Hebrew Israelites in Dimona. I felt as though this was the place where I needed to be. I'm finally getting some answers, but then there was something about it that really still was not 100% nurturing me the way that I need to be nurtured. I wasn't getting the answers. I didn't feel like there needed to be a separation between the male and the female. I thought we belonged together as a unit. And, it was just a lot of things within that allowed me to see that, I'm close, but I'm not really where I need to be. And I pulled myself back, and one thing I did say that my relationship, the person that the God that I love so much, that I felt as though has covered me throughout my life and guided me throughout my life and protected me. I didn't want to sacrifice that for anything. Any person. I didn't want anybody to infringe on that. I was at a point to where either I'm going to be at this point and elevate from this point, but I'm not going back. I'm not going to allow anybody to come into my life and make him into somebody else. I didn't want to feel like I needed to pay for his love or pay to be, accepted into a society, because like I said, what I understood was very different than a lot of other people, and I don't feel like we need to pay to learn his love. So a lot of that allowed me to pull myself in that aspect, and I kind of became just this person just wanted to study and go with what I feel comfortable with, and that's me and Yah together. And when I look back and I got to a certain point, I said, I need to get to a point to where I can learn more and figure out who he is and what is my life about. Where are we going? Where am I going with all this? And I did some research on the internet. I hadn't ever heard a show. I just kind of read and listened to little bits and pieces. And then, I automatically said, this speaks to my spirit. this what she's teaching, I need to find out more about. And that was with the nation of Yehudah, and I don't know how long I've been with you all, but what I do understand at this point in time is that we have an earthly family and then we have a spiritual family. And, you know, we are learning, you know, we learn that we're not in control of anything. And I think that me being with the nation of Yehudah allows me to be more of who I was born into being versus me being what I'm expected to be with my earthly family. I can be in anything and all things, you know, as far as learning and aspiring to be better than who I started out being. And I thank all of my sisters and brothers, you know, especially Sister Yaina, for having the insight to put such a radio show together and bring the knowledge that she has to the table, because it's a lot of it that I didn't understand because I don't have that Christian background. And like I always tell Sister Yaina, you know, being with the nation in Yehudah allows me to experience so many different emotions. And so many different emotions that I've felt since I've been here. I feel sorrow because I think of how we hurt the Most High. I feel anger because of, you know, what the nation is doing, the other nations are doing against us as a people. I feel so many. It's like a roller coaster of emotions, but it's all good. It's all good because, like I do understand that it's been a beautiful journey. I understand that everything that I've gone through in life is all for a reason and a purpose. And, you know, we don't always understand when we start on this journey where it's going or how it's going to end up, but it's about obedience. And now when I look back and look at my whole life, I'm like, you know, I'm humbled. I'm humbled through, you know, by the Most High, because I see where he's had his hand on me. I see where he's protected me. I see how he allows me to, you know, how he's told me, sit down. Now you through running through all of this other stuff. Now you're ready to sit down and listen to me, and you're ready to learn. Now you open your ears up, and now you can sit down and really digest what it is that I'm trying to tell you. And, you know, it's allowed me to grow so much. And I one of the things that really stand out to me with being with this group is because, you know, we're not trying to change anybody. It's just a matter of, and you know, it's just a matter of you learning and your relationship with the Most High and how you know, present different situations that you're faced with, how you adjust to them, how you put it in accordance to the Word. And if you love Him, then you're going to put forth your best effort in being able to incorporate Him into your everyday life. And that's something that I applaud the nation of Yehudah, because we're not here to point the finger out to anybody and say, you got to act like this and you got to be this way and you can't do this. You know, everything we do is in love, and I appreciate that so much, because, you know, I don't know how one person lives their life, you know, once we get off the phone and what they do, and they don't know how I live my life. But, you know, when I look forward to our calls every day, and because it allows me to let that side of my life dominate the earthly side, the side that I have when I'm not on the call. It allows me to always remember that I have to be who it is that I say I am, you know, when I'm on the call, and who it is, and allows me to grow into being more stronger and accepting the fact that we the people. And I always tell all the time, you have to watch out when you teaching stuff, because it makes me, you know, it gives me a sense of pride, because now we are no longer those people at the bottom. We the people at the top. We're growing to the people of the top, and we're growing into better understanding and being people that they said that we can never come together. And it's just, like I said, a beautiful journey. And, you know, I would encourage all my sisters and brothers to come and seek the peace of the nation of Yehudah, because it's an awesome experience. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Wow. I mean, you know, wow. All praises to the Most High Yah. I mean, that is what it is. It's Yah's doing, and it's His doing. So, Sister Kimberly, you can tell we can let it flow. I mean, because we all had a story. So I hope that we have warmed you up enough This is for you all who don't know. This is Kimberly. She contacted us a couple days ago. She's coming out of the church. She has multiple questions, and I told her we would be here to answer her questions. So where do you want to start?
Hello, everyone. Shalom. Thank you so much. That is a beautiful welcome. I'm just moved. I'm speechless that you have opened this up just for me to ask questions and to get an understanding. So I thank you all for sharing your stories with me. And I'm so honored and I feel blessed and welcome. So thank you very much.
Shalom, shalom.
Thank you. I do. I have so many questions. I've been, I guess, woken for about a year now. And as I put in my email, and I'll just give everyone else a little background, and I'm driving, so I hope it's not too much background noise for you all. All the shootings that were going on last year really just began to trouble me. And before that, I've always had a relationship with the Lord. I've always, what I thought, worship and praise the right way. Now I question it because I'm seeing that so many things are pagan and ritualistic in the church, in the Christian church, in the non-denominational church. I'm questioning it all. And so it really started with the shooting. And I loved God when I thought he was white, before I knew he was Caesar Borgia or Borgia, Pope, son, I loved him even then. So when Alton Sterling was shot, and that was the last one because I just didn't want to see it. I didn't want to see any of those media clips or anything, but somehow it got into my head, and I ended up seeing it. And that night I cried, and I was on the floor, and you would have thought that was my brother, my flesh and blood, because I cried and cried and cried. And my two little boys, I have two little boys, a 5-year-old and a 9-year-old, and they're like, Mommy, what's wrong with you? And I couldn't stop crying, and I said, I can't do it. I can't love a God who doesn't love us. What did we do? I don't understand. Why do you hate us? And I just can't do it. I've loved you all my life, but I don't understand why you don't love us, black people. And after I asked that question, almost literally the next day, he started to answer the question. And it started with, I came across Pastor Stephen Darby. I don't even know, I can't even remember how. But I do remember looking up, why are black people cursed? Why, and for some reason, the word curse, just kept being in my mind. So I looked up why are black people cursed, and I came across Pastor Stephen Darby, and he has Death to Ministry. And the first thing I saw was Negro Land, and he was talking about Deuteronomy 28. And he went, had the map and all this, and I'm like, what? And when I saw that, it moved me. It was so powerful. And then after that, more information started coming. It was so much information. It was so fast and it was so quick, I couldn't contain it. I had to shut it down for like 2 days because I was overwhelmed with information. It was like, okay, you're ready to hear now. You're ready to understand, because there's always, like one of the sisters said, there's always been a splinter in my mind. Why are we, just trampled on and treated like this? And I remember being younger, looking at pictures of lynchings and just staring at the pictures and wondering, why, what is that about? Why? I just didn't understand it. And so all of this information, I went to the Negro Land tour. I'm understanding the cry of Judah, and I see myself. And so then I said, well, Lord, where do I start? Because there's so much information, and everybody's talking about the end time. And I said, I need to catch up. Where do I start? And he said, the beginning. Start in Genesis. And this was 2 months ago. And I was like, oh, Lord, the this-it and the thou-it and the don't-it and the do-it. And I thought, I'm never going to get through Genesis. because how am I going to understand what it's saying when other people seem so anointed to understand the word? And so then I come across you all, and you're breaking the scripture down line by line. And I caught you all talking about Genesis when I, started reading. So I'm like, okay, thank you. And so every question he's given me an answer. He's given me the information. And so I've always wanted to know, is there a Trinity or is that pagan? Am I wrong when I say thank you, Jesus, praise you, Jesus, or should I be saying thank you, Yah? And then when I learned his name, I cried all night to know that it was Yahweh. And I didn't know. And it's just so much. And if I'm rambling, I apologize. I'm just trying
no. This is for you. So yes. You, whatever you want to say.
And so then I came across some camps. And they were saying that although Jesus is the way, if you're not keeping the laws and the commandments, you're not going to enter in. And I said, well, there's over 600 and some laws. With all of them? I mean, because I don't think we're supposed to be sacrificing, because surely Jesus came and did away with that. But what are the other laws? Am I supposed to wash my hands so many times before I eat? Am I supposed to wear certain clothing? Am I supposed to cover my head? I've heard another preacher preach of a Jezebel spirit, that women aren't supposed to really talk unless they're covered by a man or covered. And, that's confusing. Fasting, do you fast with food, without food? Do you drink? Is there fasting of fruit? Is there fasting with vegetables? What is the fast? And then the curses, okay, I know the curse. When do we come out of the curses? When do things get better? Is it the end of the exile, 2019? Individually, I have highs and lows, but I still feel like something hasn't connected. Something's missing, because if I was doing everything the proper way, then surely I would be a walking wonder myself. That I would have all these signs and wonders following me. So what am I not doing right? What am I doing wrong? That's pretty much, and I'm sure some more things will pop into my head as I go. And as you all explain things to me. So, yeah.
Okay, well, let me say this. We have been where you are. And no question, anything that you have said to us is not a difficult question to answer. We'll start from the beginning of the curse, because I think that's very. Hold on 1 minute. Let me get this out, Sister Eliezer. As soon as I finish with this, I'll let you give your testimony. She said, Sister Yaina, can I speak? I missed you calling on me. Yes, ma'am. I'm going to let you have your turn. But don't worry about it. We're going to answer everything. I'm going to let Sister Eliezer give her testimony, and then I'm going to get right into it as we get ready to explain exactly what the curse is, and how long we have. And as far as the Christian stuff, we're going to try to touch on as much of that as we can tonight. But if not, we definitely will be here again Saturday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, because we do observe the Sabbath. And, if you can make it, that would be great. If not, if we need to have a special class where you call in and we just deal with that, we will definitely do that. Okay, Sister Eliezer, go for it, and then I'm going to get right into it. She there? Oh, we can't hear you. I think your mic is 260. I'm going to take that off.
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Yeah, I was muted. I don't know why I was muted. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I'm Sister Eliezer. I am say, I don't know how it's even. So like 3 years in, so I'm out of, on the like main board, I'm one of the newest people to come into the knowledge. Like I said, it was about 3 years ago. My mother is Sanaya. So I actually got brought into the knowledge through Sister Sanaya. Sister Sanaya had been, following some of the other Israelite groups online and, kept sort of trying to get me involved with them. And I would listen to some of the stuff and be like, Mom, what are you listening to? Like, what is it? Like what? And she was like, oh, listen, I found out the truth. Let me just tell you. She was really, really excited, And at the time, I wasn't really into Christianity. I'd say I've been away from organized religion for like, I don't know, maybe about 5 years. So like that concept of organized religion, I've been away from. Spiritual, very spiritual always. But attending church, I'd say the last time I attended church was like 2012, 2011, So she was kind of talking to me, hey, listen, I found this out. This is a site, and this is kind of what everybody goes through at first, Hey, I found this out. There's something exciting about us as a people. I need you to hear. I've been listening around, following these groups, and I'm looking at her like, yeah, okay, whatever. Sounds like a cult. And she's like, no, it's not a cult. I'm telling you, it's something that it's really important. I need you. And Netanya is my aunt. So, you know what I mean? So she would try to talk to Netanya too. Netanya and Eliezer, listen to me. I got something to tell you. And we're both looking at her like, all right, whatever. Okay, And at the time she was following a group they were kind of radical. You know what I mean? I don't remember what the name of them was, but they were kind of radical in my opinion. And I'm like, these people are talking about, y'all, and talking about these spiritual beings, but then swearing in the next sentence. Now, I'm no hypocrite. Trust me. I do my fair share of swearing. I'm not going to lie. I need to work on that. But you can't, be running a show that is supposed to be giving these laws, statutes, commandments, but then swearing. It blew my mind. So I think she was with the wrong group, in my opinion, at first, So then she told me she met a sister online. Her name was Yisrael. And there was a movement, Nation of Yehudah. It was kind of a smaller startup. It wasn't huge with 20,000 followers. And at this time, I would say, what was it Sanaya, maybe a year later, maybe a year or two later, you tried to engage me again. She is. Yeah. She probably is, but she's amazing. But it was a year because for the first year she tried to tell me, I would just tell her it was a cult and I don't want to hear about it. And so, a year or two later, I became more involved and I sat in on some of the classes that Sister Yaina was doing. I think it was the radio show, actually. This was kind of before the classes. I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody who knows this story.
The radio shows, and we started the class. That's correct.
Right. So it was the radio show. And I kind of started listening to the radio show, and I kind of started to listening more about what my mom was saying, because then at that time I lived with her. And so, I was trapped. I really couldn't get away from her after a while because then I lived with her. So she would corner me and be like, look, listen to this. Sit here, listen to this. And so after a while, I'm like, that kind of makes sense. That's kind of cool. All right. And so then I started to sort of, get involved myself. And then that was around the time that the classes started up. And so at this point, my mom had taken on Sanaya had taken on as the director of the School of Knowledge. So she was building alongside with Yaina the School of Knowledge. And that's kind of how I got involved because I am an educator. So my mother was asking me to sort of help her come up with this curriculum and come up with how to structure these classes for people to take because I'm an educator. And so that's kind of how I got into it, because sort of by proxy at first, but then I sort of took on a role and started studying myself. So I still consider myself a newcomer. I've been in the knowledge for like 3 years, but I still consider myself a newcomer because there's still a ton of stuff that I am still learning, you know what I mean, to this day. And now I have a 7-year-old who is starting to ask a lot of questions. He listens into the radio show. He kind of grew up listening to it. So at the time he was like 3. And he's always been an inquisitive kid, so he would hear these radio shows too. And so now I have a kid who I'm trying to bring into the knowledge, and we're trying to bring into the knowledge too. So while I'm learning, I'm trying to impart knowledge on my son. I find that right now kind of difficult because he still has, and we still have a lot of family members who are still in Christianity. So like, he'll be taken to church, you know what I mean? And I don't ever talk bad about anything, and I don't ever, say anything, but I feel like I'm still learning a lot. So you may not hear me say a lot because I'm still learning a lot, and I'm still absorbing a lot, and I still have just as many questions as somebody who probably started listening to this yesterday. You know what I mean? Somebody who just came into the knowledge yesterday, because I wasn't a Bible studier. And so I knew nothing about the Bible. Grew up in Christianity all of my life, but still was never a person who really broke down the Bible. So these classes, these newcomer classes, are kind of really helping me understand the Bible. Like, I'd be the person in church who they'd be like, turn to 1 Timothy 25. My husband would be next to me and flip right to it, and I'm like looking for an index, you know what I mean? Like, how do I get to this page? Like, I knew nothing about the Bible. So this is helpful to me because I'm still learning alongside of everybody else. I still have as many questions as you do, you all, who are coming into the knowledge. So I don't know. It's a process, and now I have one child to take along with me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's interesting. I don't know. I'm trying.
That's all right.
Oh, my mom said, cut it short. She sent me a text message that said, cut it short.
All
so
right.
She's cutting me off. So I'm cut off. Sorry.
Let me get to the sister's question, and hopefully I can answer yours and hers. Let's cover something really quick. First thing we understand is, and I need some feedback from everybody, and you guys can tell me yay, nay. I need you to come back with it as we ask the questions. And then I'll give the scriptures, because the reason why I'm taping this, Sister Kimberly, is so that you can go back and play it again, because I'm going to upload it onto the Internet, and you can play it back and get the scriptures. But Old Testament has our history. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Don't everybody speak up at once.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's absolutely correct. Are we in captivity right now as we speak?
Yes.
Yes.
We are. Yes, we are. We're in captivity. Somebody explain to me why we are in captivity. Brother Donia.
Because our forefathers was disobedient to the Almighty. We stopped doing the laws, the statutes and the ordinances that the Almighty had set aside for us, and they were in the land when we stopped doing those laws.
They were in that is very, very good. That is a very good concept. Somebody else want to add to that?
Because we're not in our homeland. And we're in a position where we have no power.
Right.
We have no strength. We have, we're the low man on the totem pole, and we have nowhere to go.
Okay. Now, Christianity tells us that the law is done away with. Now, I'm going to ask you something. I'm going to give you a definition. A statute, and I did some research today, which I'll It says, Wikipedia said, a statute is a formal written enactment of a legislative authority that governs a city, a state, and in biblical terminology refers to a law given without any reason or justification. So a statute means it is a law.
That is correct.
So all through the Old Testament, the Bible goes through all of the Old Testament from the time the children of Israel were brought into the wilderness and given the laws and the statutes and the commandments. The Most High said keep them, didn't he?
That is correct.
Right.
He said if you keep them, you will be blessed.
Right.
He said, but if you don't keep them, what's going to happen?
You will be cursed.
You'll be exiled. You'll be
exiled. You'll be cursed. You'll be in captivity. You're going to be scattered. You're going to go. All of these different things have been happening to us. Now, Christianity will tell you that you don't have to keep the law. Now, I have listened to the pastors that you have described, Sister Kimberly. I've listened to some other pastors. They have another pastor out there called the Hebrew Nugget. I've listened to that. I think it is a beautiful thing that Israel is waking up. We have Lamar Kendrick, or whatever his name is, saying, don't call me black no more. I'm an Israelite. Black is a color. Don't call me black no more. I think it's a beautiful thing that we're waking up across the board. However, as we begin to wake up, people are comfortable where they are. So they make this thing fit to where they are. I've heard Louis Farrakhan tell his people, we're Israelites. You want to know what the Israelites are? We right here. He tell them in the Muslim religion, we're right here. Everybody wants everybody to know that we're the Israelites. It's the best kept secret. That's not a secret anymore. However, the reason why we're in captivity, everybody has a different version. I've heard the pastor of the Hebrew Nugget say the reason why we're in this captivity is because they wouldn't accept the Messiah. That is a bold-faced lie, according to the scriptures. I've heard other pastors say, if we have to teach this to the Gentiles and then everything is going to be all right. That is out of order. All of those things are out of order because the Old Testament specifically tells us why we are sitting in this captivity. If you guys can go through 70 different scriptures and tell you why he has scattered us from one end of the earth to the other. Now, I'm going to give you some scriptures real quick, and we're going to keep talking. Deuteronomy chapter 4. Read the whole chapter. I don't like to do anything like that and just give you verses. 1 Kings chapter 14. Deuteronomy chapter 28, of course, from 15 to 68. It talks about the curses that we're going to be under once we go into captivity. He talks about that he's going to bring a nation from afar with a fierce countenance that has neither regard for mother or father, the young or the old. He tells us that. So that is definitely the indication that not only are we going to be cursed, but we're going to be in captivity while we're cursed. Then he tells us why we're going into captivity. Leviticus chapter 26. Yeah. Nehemiah chapter 1. Jeremiah chapter 13. Ezekiel chapter 6. Ezekiel chapter 20. Ezekiel chapter 22. Jeremiah chapter 50. Daniel chapter 9. Psalms chapter 44. Lamentations chapter 4. Ezekiel chapter 36, Zephaniah chapter 3, Zachariah chapter 1, Isaiah chapter 11, Deuteronomy chapter 4, Jeremiah chapter 31, Ezekiel chapter 11, and we can go on and on and on. And the reason why he said that, those are the scriptures that say, I have scattered you among the nations. Mm-hmm. From one end of the earth unto the other, because you did not keep my laws, my statutes, and my commandments. Yeah. He gave those laws to one people. One nation did he give those laws to. He said only one nation. We go through this all the time. that he gave those laws and statutes and commandments to, because why? Somebody tell me why he gave it to us and only us.
Because we are the apple of his eye. He loves us.
We're the apple of his eye.
He chose us.
There you go. He chose us. Yes, ma'am. He chose us to be his people. He said, above all the people of the earth, I have chose you to be my people. He gave us his law, the laws and the statutes. We have a YouTube clip out there that says, don't do as the heathens do. And when you pull up that YouTube clip, it goes through all of the moral laws. See, a lot of people say, well, the moral laws are done away with. Most Christians don't even know what the law is.
Okay.
They say, well, what is the, oh, no, we don't have to keep the law. The law is done away with. Well, what about the moral law? Because he talks about how, he said, don't do as the heathens do. He said, when you go into this land, I don't want you to behave the way they did. All of the things that I tell you not to do are the things that they did when they were in the land.
Right. We have dietary laws, right?
Yes, ma'am. We have dietary laws as well. Dietary laws as well to keep us eating a certain way. Mm-hmm. He said in Amos chapter 3, it says, hear the word that the Lord has spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore I will punish you for all of your iniquities. So the Most High tells us that he chose us. He's punishing us because we're the only ones that he's known out of all of them. How can that be? And all of the Gentiles are preaching the gospel. How in the world can that be? And they're the ones who've written the books and gave out the tapes and mapped us out as to how salvation is supposed to be. How in the world is that? How is that possible? And he said, I've only known you.
Yep.
How? Somebody tell me. I'm curious. I just want to know. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6. He said, for thou art a holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God has chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all the people that are upon the face of the earth. He said, the Lord did not set his love upon you nor choose you because you were more in number than any people, for you were the fewest of all the people. But because the Lord loved you and because he would keep the oath which he swore unto your fathers. Had the Lord brought you out with a mighty hand and redeemed you out of the house of bondmen from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt? Know therefore that the Lord thy God, he is God, the faithful God, which keepeth covenant and mercy with them that he loves, and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations. He said, he repayeth them that hate him to their face, to destroy them. He will not be slack to them that hate him. He will repay them to his face, to their face. So when we know this, and we have been in this captivity for 397 years.
Right.
That is correct.
And the Gentile has been teaching us the Greco-Roman version of Christianity for 397 years. And they've been telling us for 397 years that we were the Gentiles, and now we know who we are, and now we know we have been chosen, and now we know that, like she said, why we hated so much? How do you not love us? Kimberly, he loves us more than you can ever know, but we hurt him.
That is correct.
Because we didn't keep his laws and his statutes and his commands. We didn't keep them. But then we fast forward and we come over here in this land, and if you don't keep these laws and these statutes, they'll lock you up. They'll put you in jail. Guess what? We have high holy days. I'm going to break down the law. The law is broken into 5 categories.
Right.
We have the sacrificial law. which is the animals that were sacrificed when we committed a transgression or an iniquity or a sin. Then we have the ceremonial law. These are the high holy days that we are to keep as a nation. That these are the ceremonies that he gave us to keep throughout our generation. Then we have the moral law, which tells us that we're not supposed to sleep with our uncle's wife, or we're not supposed to sleep with our son-in-law's daughter, or we're not supposed to sleep with our daughter-in-law, or we're not supposed to sleep with our son-in-law. Man is not supposed to lay with man. Women are not supposed to lay with women. We're not supposed to lay with a beast. He lays it all out. That's the moral law. Then you have the dietary law, which tells you what you can and cannot eat. He has a specific dietary law what we can and cannot eat as a nation. He tells you, if you see an animal that has died to itself, don't touch it. He said, you can't eat it, but the stranger can. He said, but I don't want you to eat it. Then we have the judgment law that says that if you do these things, that you will be put to death in some cases. Some cases you will be put out of the nation. Some cases you'll be put out of the camp. This is the penalty part of the law. So these are the laws that he gave us. Now, for us who believe in the New Testament, we believe that the sacrificial law has been fulfilled. The judgment law is under grace so that we're not being penalized right now while we're in captivity. But as we come to the knowledge of who we are, we have to begin to understand those laws and keep those laws as a nation because they were given to our ancestors.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to do it later on, too.
I'm sorry, say again, Brother Donia.
And we are going to get back to doing those laws. We have to prepare our hearts, our minds, and our soul to be able to get back to doing those laws. Right now, we're in a captive state. That's why the Almighty said, if you change from your wicked ways, he will forgive your sins.
Shalom, that's exactly correct. So we have to get ourselves prepared. And I believe now, I want to let you know that everybody on this line does not believe in the Messiah. And the reason why we have that is because we're a nation. You heard the Theocratic Nation video. We're a nation of people that we're gathering together. But for those who believe in that New Testament, we have to understand that we believe that whatever was supposed to be preached, it cannot be preached to its full capacity until we understand who we are and line our lives up according to the way it's supposed to be lined up. And then once this captivity is over, we believe that things will change in that manner. But one thing that we do know is that the Gentile will never admit that we're the people on a wide scale. They won't do it.
That's right.
They will not do it. But it doesn't matter because Yah is beginning to wake us up and to let us know. The reason why we're in this captivity is because we disobeyed his laws, his statutes, and his commandments. This is why we're in this captivity as a whole. Whether you're Messianic or non-Messianic, we're all in this together because our ancestors did something that totally hurt the Most High, and he put us into this captivity. Mm-hmm. And as a result of it, we're paying for it right now, and we're sitting in a land that is not ours. We're sitting in a land where we have no power. We're sitting in a land where we are piss poor and pitiful. We're sitting in a land where we are broke and broke down, and we are an astonishment to the people that look at us as a people. Mm. And that was purposely done by the Most High Yah. He told us that was the state that we would be in. But he also gave us an out. He said that this was not going to last forever, and that he would be the one to come and get us and to bring us out of the captivity that we are definitely in at this time. And we know we're in captivity because some people say, well, how are you in captivity? You were able to, you're able to have houses, and you're able to have jobs, and you're able to have cars, and you got degrees and education. But like Brother Donnie always says, when a nation can't grow their own food and control their own commerce and live in their own land, then we're in captivity.
That is correct.
In captivity. We don't even have a chair at the UN. Nobody is there representing our nation. And matter of fact, there's another people in our land that is professing to be us.
That is correct.
So all of these things have been done purposely so that we never know who we are. But the Most High said we were going to come out of this captivity, and part of the sign that we were going to come out is that the knowledge of who we are would come back to us.
That is correct.
Any other questions, Sister Kimberly, before we go on? I'm trying to cover this in a broad way so that we will be able to give you as much information as we can. We have the videos out there. I will send you a list of all of them so that you'll have them and be able to go over them. But as far as the Most High is concerned, we have to fulfill prophecy that is in the Old Testament. The whole scattering is in the Old Testament. The reason why we're scattered is in the Old Testament. Our deliverance is still spoke of in the Old Testament.
That's correct.
The place that's prepared for us after we come out of this captivity is in the Old Testament.
That's correct.
So the Old Testament is not done away with, nor is it fulfilled, because we have to fulfill it, being the children of Israel. The clock stops and starts with us.
Hallelujah.
The law is not done away with, nor has it been destroyed, because once we come back together, we will live under those same principles.
That is correct. Absolutely.
Yep.
That's right.
You know, that doesn't say that the children of Israel can eat a pork sandwich now because Jesus hung on the cross. That's not true.
Correct.
We have to still observe that dietary law. We have to still keep those ceremonial laws because guess what? We don't do Christmas, and we don't do Thanksgiving, and we don't do Halloween, and we don't do 4th of July. We don't do all of those holidays because those are the holidays that signify something that's conditioned with this captivity. You know, we can't do the 4th of July and celebrate the independence of the things that some of us were still in slavery. You know, when you start looking at the holidays, the Christmas holiday and the Thanksgiving holiday, a lot of those, most of those things are pagan. We can't do those anymore. So y'all gave us ceremonial laws that we are supposed to make sure that we do. We still keep the Feast of Unleavened Bread. We still keep Passover. We still keep the Feast of Weeks. We still do the Day of Atonement. We do those high holy days that he gave us because that is something that he gave to us in remembrance and to signify that we are the people.
That is correct.
Yep.
And it's a journey transforming your life into that. It's a journey changing your life around so that you will be able to do those things. It's a journey because for 397 years, we've been putting up Christmas trees. We've been putting Christmas lights out. We've been buying balls. We've been getting in debt buying toys and putting under the trees. We've been doing all of those things. We've been dressing our children up as ghosts and goblins to walk through the streets to get candy from strangers. We've been doing all those things, and all of it is pagan. And now they have it in the church instead of Halloween. They have Holy Ween. All of it is pagan. Nobody keeps the Sabbath. That's one of the main things that we're supposed to keep.
Keeping it Sabbath.
We transition our lives around to keep that Sabbath.
Yeah.
Some people do it, which I do it from Friday night, sundown, from sundown Friday to sundown Saturday. Mm-hmm. Some people do it as the sun's going up on Saturday to sun go down on Saturday. Different people do it different ways. But we keep it. And when you begin to transform your life around, people look at you like you're strange. On your job, your family members, all the kind, they watching. They ain't saying nothing, but they watching. They saying, so you keeping the Sabbath now, huh? That's how my family used to do me. Oh, so you keeping the Sabbath now, huh? Yep. My sister, one of my sisters is a pastor, and she ran into one of her friends, and she said, how is your sister doing? I haven't seen her in a while. She said, girl, you ain't going to believe it. She is a Hebrew Israelite now. She said, shut up. She said she is. It's a running joke, but I'll praise it to the Most High because the joke on you. You got to come into that knowledge. I already know who I am.
That's right.
So it's a transition, sis. It's not going to be easy, but we're here. I caution you to stay away from a lot of the groups, and we'll talk further. I'll send you my phone number and give you some more information because there's a lot of groups you need to steer completely clear from. They will have you going around in a whirlwind. Some of them, not all of them, but some of them are a little bit off to. You know how you have some family members that's a little touched. You love them, but you just got to you bow your head and cover your eyes like, ugh. But we take the bitter with the sweet because we're a nation, and we're coming out of exile, and we're coming out of captivity, and we're coming out of a curse. And as we begin to wake up, some people come up with some way off-the-wall stuff, but we still love them because they still family. And no matter what happens, we still love them. And that's how we do it over here. They don't believe women should talk. Women, they go to Paul's teaching when Paul is clearly sent to the Gentile. Peter was the one that was sent to the Israelites. But they go to Paul's teaching. See, Paul said a woman should learn in silence, and you need to get somewhere and shut up and go sit down. Well, that flies for somebody who doesn't know the word. But as the women begin to come out of the church, women who are pastors who have studied this word, we understand the difference between Paul's teachings and Peter's. We understand all of that. And then they say, well, the Israelites were scattered, and Paul was sent to the Gentiles, the Israelites that were scattered. No. Yah doesn't make a mistake, and he's not confused. He knew what he was doing when he sent Peter to the Israelites and Paul to the Gentile people to be able to teach. But, again, we feel like that there is something missing from that whole New Testament experience, that Yah has done that on purpose, because why would he allow the Gentile to work in his power and he doesn't even keep the law? He doesn't even respect the Sabbath day. He doesn't keep the high holy day. They've given him a whole new name. Mm-hmm. Why would he allow that? When his own people are in exile, and Romans clearly says that they have to get all of that information from us. The adoption is ours. The giving of the service of Yah is ours. All of the things have to come from the Israelites. We have to be the one to teach the Gentiles how to serve our God. Because he said he's going to get the glory from the whole earth. Everybody is going to line up.
The cliche.
And nobody wants to come to that conclusion. They just don't. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say the old cliche of robbing Peter to pay Paul comes to mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So as we begin to know this knowledge and we come into this knowledge, we have to make it plain so that people can understand what is happening between us and how we're coming into the knowledge of who we are. So we have to really take it slow, and we have to spell this out so that there is no misunderstanding. Because this is a journey that and y'all knew we was going to take this journey. And it's very confusing. And it said, Romans chapter 9, it says, I say the truth in Christ, I lie not. My conscience also bearing witness in the Holy Spirit, that I have great heaviness and continued sorrow in my heart. For I could wish that myself be accursed for Christ, for my brethren, my kinsmen according to the flesh. He's talking about the Israelites. He said, who are Israelites? To whom pertain the adoption? That's ours. The glory, that's ours. The covenant, that belongs to us. The giving of the law, that's ours. The service of Yah, that belongs to us, and the promises. Yeah. All of that's ours. So no Gentile can teach you those things unless it first comes through us. And we can't give it to you in the correct fashion because we're waking up out the curse. We can share with you what we know, but when it comes to power, nobody gets that, I believe, until we wake up completely out of the curse and the curse is over. And it has to come through us first. Imagine what it would cost if the Gentile had control over the power and he was able to work it just like the word said it's supposed to work. We would never be able to afford it, and we definitely wouldn't be included in it.
That's right.
Right.
All of the books and the tapes and stuff that I done bought, and I know you have too, sis, and all the things that I participated in Christianity because I wanted to be right. I wanted to do it right. I wanted the Most High to say, "Well done, thou good and faithful servant."
Yeah.
I raised my children that way. I lived it. I didn't just talk it. I lived it.
Yes.
Only to find out when it was over there, he said you was going to be made to serve other gods of wood and stone. He told you that. When you go in this captivity, you will be made to serve other gods of wood and stone.
Yep.
I said, other gods? What do you mean, other gods? But guess what? That's what happened to us. That's what happened to us. He said, Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 64. He said, the Lord shall scatter thee among all the people from one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And we doing it right now.
Yep. Yep.
We speaking in tongues and getting shot in the street.
Yes.
Killed. Baptized in Jesus' name.
Yeah.
AIDS in the church. It's not real. And I know it's hard for some people to accept that. My sister won't even talk to me about it. It ain't real. It's not. It look real, and it sound real. And, they have all the earmarkings of it to being real, the music, the spirit. There's definitely a spirit there.
Mm-hmm.
You do. It is. But let me ask you a question. How can the Holy Ghost, the Holy Spirit, the Ruach of Yah, be in a place and it totally goes against everything that the Bible tells us that it's supposed to be? How can that be possible? How can the Holy Spirit of the Most High Yah be in that place and they don't keep the Sabbath?
Yep.
They don't keep the high holy days.
Yep.
They ignore the Old Testament completely, except they use it as a reference to preach out of.
Yep.
And they're lying to the people and telling the people that are in the church that they're a Gentile. How? Because one thing I know about Yah, the scripture said Yah can't lie. He can't lie. So how is that deception going on? Because it's going on full-fledged. It is. It's in full-fledged operation. And as it comes to the Holy Spirit, come to the Trinity, which is one of your questions, there are three. And I have to take you back through the book of Genesis to let you know that. Because Yah made us in his own image. In the image of Yah made he him. Male and female made he them and called their names Adam. So the image of Yah is that he's both male and female. Because he made man in his image. And my kids blew me back when we was in Bible study. One of my daughters came up and she said, Mommy, you just don't understand. He split the atom. That's all he did. And I was like, wow, he sure did. She said he split the atom. And basically Adam was looking at a female version of himself. That's the male and female part. Some people don't believe in, some of the camps don't believe in the Immaculate Conception. I was listening to that today, and I'm going to do a study on that as soon as we get through this stuff that we're doing on Saturday, because I have to blow that one out the water. And I always use the word because it's not my opinion, it's the word. But we understand why. Like I said, we lay the information out before you and you choose. Any other questions, sis, that you might have? And I hope that I haven't given out too much information, but I just wanted to put some stuff on the table. Like I said, we'll be back here on Saturday. Saturday we're doing a teaching on the deception. We've done the Muslim faith, we've done the Catholic Church, and now we're getting ready to do the church, the black church, or the Gentile church this Saturday, to lay down the whole foundation of the everybody's waiting on somebody to come. And every one of them is coming from the sky. So we're setting up these YouTube clips so that at least you'll have some information on what each one of them believe, that it'll help you in these last days so that you're not deceived. Because the deception is going to be so great that even the very elect could be fooled if it were not possible. So we don't want people to be fooled because of ignorance, because guess what? We was in the church for many years and thought it was real. I did. I thought it was real. And when he pulled the wool off my eyes, I said, oh, my goodness. And then I sat there baffled, like, how could I not see that? But he didn't want you to see it. Anybody else have anything you want to add to it before we dismiss? Our classes are usually from 7 o'clock until 8:30, but we're going to stay a little later today. At least try to stay at least until 9 if you guys can. Anything else, sis, you want to ask us? I'm going to put some scriptures out there in a few minutes. I'll put some more scriptures out there so that you'll have it. But I know all the stories about the law being done away with, and how grace has come in and we don't have to keep the law, and I know all of it. I preached it. So I know it. From the rooter to the tutor, I know it.
This information is wonderful. You haven't given me too much. I made it in, so I've been writing as you were talking, and hopefully I can go back and find it and get those other scriptures. So when you mentioned like our dietary, because to be honest with you, I've read the Bible, and I put it down because there was just nothing in there that spoke to me until I knew it was about me. And then I started going, oh, okay. But having that, thing taught where you don't have to do this anymore as opposed to this. So since I was young, I haven't eaten meat. But are there specific things that I should know? Like, because I eat fish and I eat vegetables and fruit and stuff like that. But I let my son eat whatever grandma or pop, whatever they eat. I said, fine, it's your choice as you get older. But it's not their choice. I want to get them on track now. While they're young.
Leviticus chapter 11 talks about the dietary law. We have a list of clean and unclean food lists that we will be happy to send you. We will email that to you this evening so that you'll have that. But Leviticus chapter 11 is what the Most High has given us, and I think part of 17, if I'm not mistaken. But he says, these are the beasts which ye shall eat among all the beasts that are on the earth. Whatsoever parteth the hoof, and is cloven-footed, and chew the cud among the beasts, that shall ye eat. Nevertheless, shall ye not eat of them that chew the cud, or of them that divide the hoof, as the camel, because he cheweth the cud, but does not divide the hoof. He is unclean to you. So he goes down through the list of those that are clean and those that are unclean. Brother Donia, can you tell her what chew of the cud means?
That's a cow where he chews up his food, then he regurgitates it, he swallows it, and a cow has two stomachs. It goes into one stomach, and then he regurgitates it back up, and then then it goes into the other stomach. That's chewing the cud. That's only there's very few animals that do that. But the animals that do that, it talks about, it lets you know that that's not just the only clean animal. I mean, the clean description. You understand? He has to have hooves. You understand? He has to have that not the a hoof. The animal that chews the cud.
Okay. And so those like, and we don't eat pork of course, and we don't eat fish that don't have fins and scales. They have to have fins and scales. So we don't eat lobster, we don't eat shrimp, we don't eat crab legs, we don't eat any of those scavenger fish. We don't eat catfish. They have to have fins and scales when you eat it.
We don't eat squid.
Squid, none of that. Octopus, anything that has a smooth body, we don't eat it. Has to have fins and scales. And that, like I said, we'll send you a list of the food so that you'll have those things and you can begin to do that, and to eat right and eat properly, so you'll know, that kind of stuff. We'll definitely send you a list. Anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you so much. I'm so happy.
Well, we're happy that you're happy. And like I said, it's a lot. We can't just pile it on to you at once because it's a lot. We want people to enjoy being an Israelite, enjoy your newfound identity, and knowing who you are, because the more you learn, the freer you get. And the more you practice it, the more you'll understand that a lot of stuff you was doing was just nonsense. And, we're not a cult. We're a nation. We're not a religion. We're a nation. Like I said, we're a theocratic nation, which means that we have an Elohim over us that has given us a law, and that we keep that law to the best of our ability while we're in captivity. Now, some things we can't do, but when we get back to the place where he has prepared for us, we will do those things. Anybody have anything else they want to say to her, while we got 10 minutes left, and you want to give her any other advice, or you guys got a scripture you want to share with her, or anything?
I just want to say that we have a way of life. It's not no religion. You understand? It's a way of life. Because if you eat correctly, if you follow moral laws, and where we got to treat our brother with humility, have humility amongst our brothers and sisters, and we have a spiritual connection to the Almighty Yah. And I don't knock all of those brothers that are. We're struggling here, trying to get back to that spiritual connection with the Almighty. You understand? And the only time that's going to happen, you understand, is when the Almighty brings us back into the wilderness to purge out all of that nonsense. You understand what I'm saying? And judge his people. You understand? That's when all of this stuff. But what we're struggling here. So I don't condemn nobody for what they think. You understand? We're struggling. We're going through it. You understand? But as if you know better, you do better.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I'd like to give some scriptures real quick about the commandments, and then anybody else that want to talk. Leviticus chapter 22, Deuteronomy chapter 6, Deuteronomy chapter 7, Deuteronomy chapter 8, Deuteronomy chapter 10, Deuteronomy chapter 11, Deuteronomy chapter 13, Deuteronomy chapter 15, Deuteronomy chapter 26, Deuteronomy chapter 27, Deuteronomy chapter 28, Deuteronomy chapter 29 and 30 and 31 and 32, Joshua chapter 1, Joshua chapter 22, Joshua chapter 23, 1 Kings chapter 2, 1 Kings chapter 6, 1 Kings chapter 8, 1 Kings chapter 9, chapter 11, 2 Kings chapter 17, 2 Kings chapter 21, Psalms chapter 78, Leviticus chapter 18, 19, 20, 25, and so forth. So those will be enough to get everybody started, to understand how important that law is and how important it is that we had to keep it. And then we'll get into some scripture about how we broke it, how hard-headed we were, how bold we were in his face and told us that we told him we was going to worship another God and we was going to keep doing it no matter what he said, and he just got tired of us and threw us into captivity. Yep. Basically. So, if that's nothing else, Sister Kimberly, we're glad that you came on the show. I will definitely be sending you some information tonight. I'll send you that list of the clean and unclean food that we are to eat and what we're not supposed to eat, so that you'll have that. And then as we get these videos together, I will definitely send you a list tomorrow. When I get home from work, I will send you a few of the videos. But the one that I want you to definitely look at, and I'm going to send you a link to that tonight, is the one that says, don't do as the heathen does. Because we did an extensive teaching on the things that they did and the people that the Most High used us to run out of the land, that these are the way that they used to live. And he said, I don't want you to do as the heathens do. I don't want you to live like they live. I want you to do things the way I tell you to do it, and you shall live a long and prosperous life.
Okay.
So I'll definitely do that. Is there anything else that we forgot? Don't forget, you guys, that Saturday we're having our class 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be on the same phone number. Hope that you all can make it. And thank you all so much for staying around a little longer for Sister Kimberly. And I really love all of the testimonies and everything. It was really a blessing. And on that note, we say shalom, shalom to everybody. And thank you so much. Thanks, Sister Kimberly. We look to see you on Saturday if you can make it.
Thank you. I'll be there. Thank you.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, everybody.